We put Apple's MacBooks through everything in our lab, from our 2-day battery test that simulates real-world workflows, to our robot-controlled mouse and keyboard that actually lets us measure performance using real apps like Photoshop and Premiere. We also measured the displays, we analyzed the speakers, we tested the webcams and microphones, and just about everything else you could think of, with really just one goal in mind: figuring out exactly how much you get at each step, from the Neo to the Air, and from the Air to the Pro. So that way, by the end of this video, you'll have all the data that you would need to decide whether or not spending the extra money is actually worth it. Let's find out. This video is sponsored by Whisperflow, which has made me realize that typing is kind of ridiculous, right? Like, you can think faster than your fingers can actually move, and until we all get brain chips, the next best thing is your voice. And to prove it, we built out this whole typing test, where on a MacBook, I can get around 100 words per minute, which I actually think is pretty good. But with Whisperflow, for the same exact string of text, I can get up to 200 words per minute, so basically double the speed. But it's not just that Whisperflow can get the words down fast, it's also how it formats those words. So let's say I'm sending our editor some notes. So normally I would say something like, hey, a few things before you head out. For the Pixel camera test, make sure we're ingesting the 12 and 50 megapixel samples. Wait, no, not 50 megapixels, 48 megapixels. For the intro, add warp stabilizer to any B-roll that needs it, and then export the footage in ProRes 422 before uploading it to Frame.io. Now, normally that appears as a big giant block of text exactly how I said it. But with Whisperflow, you get a clean, formatted list that's actually ready to send. You can get 1 month of Whisperflow Pro completely free at the desktop checkout at the first link down below. Alright, we'll start off with the displays, which is an area where I feel like Apple's spec sheet doesn't really tell the whole story. Take brightness, for example, where Apple is saying that the Neo and the Air have exactly the same level of brightness. But in our testing, we actually found the Air to be around 10% brighter. Now, that's not a huge difference, but when you combine it with the fact that the Neo also doesn't get the same anti-reflective coating as the other two, it does hand the Air an advantage when it comes to day-to-day visibility, since the Air just doesn't have to fight through as much glare and reflection. The Pro model takes this another step further. Not only is it about 20% brighter in typical conditions than even the Air is, but it's also the only one of the three that can actually boost its display in bright environments, like when you're outdoors or sitting next to a window, roughly doubling the output of the other two. But it's not always at daytime. In a dark room, minimum brightness can matter just as much. And here, the Pro is the best once again, with it being able to go the dimmest of the bunch, while the Neo actually edges out the Air by a small margin. In terms of color, the Air and the Pro also have another advantage, not necessarily because they're dramatically more accurate than the Neo, but because they can reproduce just a wider range